Hey there, podcast enthusiasts. Are you ready to add a little sparkle to your day? If you're loving the insightful conversations and captivating stories on Mirror Talk Podcast, here's a friendly nudge to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you'll never miss out on the empowering messages and thought provoking discussions we bring to your ears. But wait, there's more. We're all about spreading positivity and inspiration, and you can be a part of it too. How? By sharing the love with your friends and family. Share this episode with your loved ones, and let's create a ripple effect of empowerment and growth together. And hey, if you've been enjoying what you hear, why not take a moment to leave us a glowing 5-star review? Your feedback fuels our passion to keep delivering content that resonates with you. So hit that subscribe button, share the love, and leave us a review. Let's keep the conversation going and spread the Mirror Talk magic far and wide. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, your support means the world to us.
In this episode, we'll be learning how to build a LinkedIn profile for business success from an author and LinkedIn expert. We're already looking at my LinkedIn page and already looking for different things to adjust and to improve. So I'm happy that we're having this conversation because I believe that by the end of this conversation, everyone's LinkedIn profile will be so attractive and will be a magnet attracting the people that they want to attract to it, basically. But before we jump into it, just for people out there who have never heard about LinkedIn before, can you enlighten us on the powerful tool called LinkedIn?
The truth is, I bumped into LinkedIn early in 2004. And 2 years later, I was a sales manager, and I had to identify the right person within the organization I needed to speak with. And LinkedIn simply helped me slash my sales cycle by at least 30%. And it was like a kid entering a candy store, seeing all those people there. And before that, it was very difficult. So that moment, I meant I wanted to dive deeper into LinkedIn and to see what's under the hood. And then I started helping friends, and those friends asked me to train their staff. And one day you wake up and you realize this is what you're doing for a living. And I dropped everything else and I decided to specialize.
That's
I'm
good.
very glad I did.
Because a lot of us need, that help with LinkedIn, and you train thousands of people on LinkedIn and you help them to improve their profiles, even, to become what they wanted to actually become, actually. So what inspired you to, oh, thank you. What inspired you to actually, go into training and teaching and helping people in that?
That's a great question. I think training is probably the single most constant element in my career. Even before using LinkedIn or even before discovering LinkedIn, I was training was my professional world, either as a facilitator or as a training organizer. And because the implementation of the training was very important. It is very important for me. I try to make my trainings practical and hands-on. And the subject is for the last 10 or 15 years LinkedIn. But before that, it could have been all sorts of other. So training is not a chore. It gives me a lot of adrenaline, and I'm very happy when I finish a training. It's like, almost like you ran a marathon and you have more. Now you can start another one.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, and once you train people, you also become better, and it's a full circle like that. And you train, and people get better, and you also get better. And and now we are able to even speak, and hopefully the listeners out there also, get better with their LinkedIn profile also. But there's one thing I would really love to know. I would love to know the importance of networking, especially on LinkedIn. Why do we have to network at all?
Wow, Toby. If you think about the success in your career, whether it's as an engineer or as a podcast host or anything else, networking is probably the single most important skill that can make or break your career. don't get me wrong, you need to be a good engineer. You had to be a good host, but that's not enough. Because networking could help you identify opportunities. Because staying in touch with people you've worked for and you worked with 2 years ago, 5 years ago, can bring you business opportunities, contracts, jobs, promotions. And what I say is what I said is a no-brainer, and everyone knows it, but it's difficult to implement. We find it difficult to stay in touch with people we met, and many people basically treat networking as a transactional thing. So now I need something from Toby, I'll reach out to you. But as soon as I get it, I will forget about you for 5 years. And then 5 years, you will be able to help me get something else, so I'll remember you. But Toby, if I could stay in touch with you in the next 5 years, maybe twice or 3 times without asking anything in return, and in 5 years' time, in 2027 or 2029, I would feel I wanted to reach out to you and ask you something, I think I would feel a bit better before I reach out to you. And you're not going to look at me and say, okay, again, an email from Daniel, the one who keeps asking me if every time he has a challenge. And that's not a good way to build long-term relationships. Our career is likely to change and to evolve. We may pivot. We can move from Nigeria to Hamburg or to Boise, Idaho. But our network, or people we met and people we serve and people we work with, can help us either directly or by introducing us to people that could be helpful for our business or our lives.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yes. I mean, it's good to always have that circle of people around us that could be helpful for our business or for our life. Yeah. And it's not only just to reach out to help for help, but basically to nurture that relationship with people out there. Also. Yeah, I like that actually. Like, the example of always just reaching out every 5 years because I need something, and that's not LD, but just nurturing that kind of relationship, reaching out even when I don't need anything helps me to build up a network. Yeah.
The beauty about it is that if you don't need anything from me, so you can actually listen. You can wish me happy holidays. You can on February 14th, I can wish you a happy birthday. Not because I need something from you on February 15th, right? But it's a lot easier to do when you don't have anything to ask, and it gives you more comfort when you do ask. You have to ask someone for help. It actually means you have to invest less time if you do it consistently. If I forget about someone for 5 years, so in 5 years' time, I will have to start anew. I will have to start from zero. And so, I remember 5 years ago, we had a chat about X and Y and Z. How are you doing?
Yeah. End of conversation already. No reply. But a lot of people face this challenge of saying, on LinkedIn, for example, there are a lot of strangers, there are a lot of people that I don't know. So, I mean, can you tell us, like, why do we have to connect with people that we don't know? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? I know one of the advantages is that you can get to create relationship with people, strangers then become friends, or people that could help you in your business or in your life. But there are a lot of risk out there, and how can we then be careful, dealing with these people that we don't know?
Can I suggest something that would make our lives easier? Excellent. So you don't have to, Toby. You don't have to, because it comes with a price. The thing is that if you think about your connection strategies on LinkedIn, there are basically 2 ways to go about it. One is to aim for quantity. That means you want to be the most connected. And that basically means you have 40,000 connections. The greatest upside or the greatest benefit would be exposure. When you share an episode, then many people will say, because you have 40K followers. That's nice. The other method or the other strategy is having a quality network, not being the most connected, but being the best connected. And what is the upside of this method? When you run a search and you see that someone interesting, maybe your next hiring manager or your next prospect, is connected with someone you know, that means you can leave LinkedIn and speak with that person and ask them to introduce you to that second person. And that can only happen if you know your network well. You may have 80 connections and use LinkedIn extremely well, and you may have 5,000 connections and not gain any benefits from LinkedIn. So pick one, and the worst would probably be to try and aim for both. Because most people, other than Mirror Talk listeners, okay, most people find it difficult to make a choice.
That's
they
true.
want both. So they start with quality. They start usually by connecting with people they know well, and then they keep hearing, you need to grow a network. And that means often they lose the quality of their network because they no longer know those people, and they can no longer ask them for referrals or for any meaningful help. And on the other hand, they haven't extended their network largely enough to gain real meaningful exposure, because 5,000 people is not meaningful exposure on LinkedIn. Most people will not see what you share if you have 5,000 connections, because most people are not on LinkedIn 24/7. So just to sum this up, ask yourself, if I had to pick one, in 3 years' time, would I like to be the most connected or the best connected? And stick to that. Don't try to veer, and don't try to change course, because it will take you years. It's probably not worth it.
What would you advise for a business, actually? Like maybe like Mirror Talk podcast, like having a company page. Should we aim for, reaching out to more people, building up our presence, or should we just aim for like quality? Like, okay, we just want quality. We just want to connect with the close people that we like, share, comment, for example. Or should we aim for the numbers, where maybe we have 20,000 followers and maybe just 10 are liking our pictures or liking our posts?
All right. That's a very pertinent question. So let me ask you in turn. Would you rather have 200 people who are fans, who are listening to every single Mirror Talk episode out there, or 2,000, and out of those, maybe they will listen to 10 minutes once a year? Which would be more meaningful to you?
I'll prefer the 200. 200 that are really, really interested and always listen to everything, connected, and
Cool. So if your podcast is specializing in relationships and taking a break and soulful conversations, then maybe 200, it would be easier for you to reach 200 people who are close to the ideas you'd like to promote. And just one thing about the page in general, the page you have has less than 300 followers, whereas you, Toby, as a person, as an individual, you have over 2,000 followers. And that is likely to be the proportion for almost anyone listening to us. The page is not very important on LinkedIn if we run a small ship, if we have a small team, if we have 10 employees or 15 or even 100, the page is not very important. If you run a Fortune 200 company and you have 20K employees, then the page becomes important. But if you're a consultant or a freelancer, forget about the page, set it up, forget about it, and use your profile, because you'll never have as many followers to the page as you have as an individual. It's not because of you. It's not because people don't want to see the page. It's that the regular or natural action on LinkedIn is to see Toby as an individual and not the page itself. Most people simply don't follow that many pages.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of invites that I've sent out, and I didn't get any approval of the invites or acceptance. Yeah, you're right. That's true. But when we put both in scale, or we use both of them as example right now, how can we make? Okay, let's just use the LinkedIn profile. How can we make our LinkedIn profile attractive to the right people? Maybe, for example, for a job, to the right headhunters, or to, as a business, the right clients.
Wow, excellent. So let me suggest a simple 3-step process. And the first question would be, Toby, who would you say is your ideal reader? Perhaps we could use 2 examples. One is the next hiring manager you could work for as an engineer. And the second would be someone you'd like to discover Mirror Talk as a listener to the podcast itself. Okay, some listeners may say, I want a job, and some people will say, I want a client or want someone to work with as a freelancer, as a business, as a solution provider. So first, you define your ideal reader on LinkedIn. Let's continue with the idea of the hiring manager. This may be the ideal reader for you if you're an employee looking for a new job. Then the second step is to ask yourself, if we could make your hiring manager visit your LinkedIn profile today, what action would you like them to perform after they read your profile? Imagine you're a job seeker. I'm the would-be hiring manager. I visit your profile. What action would you like me to perform after I discover you and I read your profile and I see that you went to the Dortmund University and I see that you worked with ZF and everything? What action would you like me to perform?
Write me a message and tell me that you found my profile attractive and you would like to recommend this job to me. Yeah.
Excellent. What would you say if I told you that it's actually difficult for most LinkedIn users to message you on LinkedIn?
Oh, why? Why is that so?
Because for 99% of people who would visit your profile, when they look at your profile and they see the word message, there's a small lock. And that means that when they click on the word message, they are asked by LinkedIn to upgrade and to pay before they can send you a message.
I did not know that.
So just try and pick someone you're not connected with, and you will see that the word message usually appears, but once you click on it, you have either a 1 month free trial or a suggestion for you to pay. Now, in your case, Toby, everyone will pay. But let's think about our listeners. Maybe they're not that lucky. So if you want to make it easy, if you want to be more accessible, we need to help the reader understand how to reach out to us without having to pay LinkedIn. And there's a setting you can basically, if you're listening to this right now and you're in front of a laptop, you go to the top navigation bar and you click on the small thumbnail of your photo. And there, what you would do is go to the settings and privacy. Okay, so again, you go to your small thumbnail, you click on settings and privacy, and there on the left, the third word would be visibility. So you click on visibility, and there you would have the third setting saying who can see or download your email address. My guess is that 90% of people listening to this or watching this will have first-degree connections. And that means that if they're not lucky enough to be connected with you, they can't message you. So if you're a job seeker and you want to make it easier for people to do, what you could do is simply make your email accessible for people who are not connected with you. So question number 1 was, who's your ideal reader? Say the engineering manager you can work for. The second question would be, what action would you like them to perform? You said message me or reach out and say, maybe schedule an interview. And the last question, are we making it as easy for them as possible to understand that we're the solution to their trouble? And are we making it as frictionless as possible for them to find us with the right keywords, to get the right message with the profile photo and a banner and a headline? And do we make it easy for them to reach out and say, Toby, I'm looking for a bright engineer near Hamburg. Would you like to schedule a Zoom call with us next week? 3 questions. Ideal reader, number 1. Action you'd like them to perform, number 2. And are we helping them perform the action we wanted?
That's true. Wow. So, I mean, even if anyone out there wants, to be sent a message or so, you could just go to your profile and then change the settings so that you could get more, emails or more messages from headhunters out there. That's good. Thank you so much for that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, when for example, a headhunter sees our profile, Like what can we do to make our profile attractive? Like what should we do to our introduction, for example? What should we do to yes, exactly to the how should we make our profile so that we could, or the headline, for example, what should we do so that with the first impression they'll be able to say yes, I'm going to go through this profile properly without skipping and being distracted by the next profile.
Okay, that's a very powerful question. I'll try to mention one or two things about the headline itself. The headline, as you rightly said, it's probably the most expensive real estate we have on our profile. Because you know, Toby, that everyone who visits LinkedIn will see the headline itself even before they see your profile. If I run a search and you're one of the 20 or 200 results, then the only meaningful information I will see is your headline. So simply read your headline and ask yourself, is this headline attractive for my ideal reader? Am I making it as easy for them to understand, even on a busy day, whether they need to visit my profile? And if you're an engineer, then perhaps your specialty or the sort of engineering you do or the industry you're working for is relevant information for your ideal reader. If you have experience about Nordex and the type of manufacturing or semiconductor that's relevant for that company, and that's what you want to do next, then maybe the term semiconductors could be weaved or added to your headline so it says engineer with experience in A, B, and C, and everyone would fill A, B, and C with different items.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I mean, placing our qualifications and maybe achievement also in our headline, yeah, makes it attractive.
Perhaps ask yourself, if you're looking for an engineer with your skill set, what is the very first thing you would like to know? What is the very first question you'd like to know? Maybe for some engineers it would be their diploma. So showing or featuring or highlighting your diploma could be certainly interesting for junior engineers. For people who don't have a lot of experience, then their diploma is way more important than anything else. Simply ask yourself, put yourself in the headhunter's shoes or the hiring manager's shoes, and do try to answer their questions in the order they ask themselves. The first question is not, can you come for an interview tomorrow? Can we schedule an interview? The first question is that person's skill set relevant for us? What have you studied? What experience have you gained? And the more I see, the more I can tell whether it could be a good solution for us. You mentioned something else, finding us. So perhaps I could give an example of ways you can incorporate keywords into your profile.
Yes, of course
That's
it is.
of interest.
Can you teach us that?
Cool. So let me suggest three steps. One is to identify your ideal job. So you can use LinkedIn or Glassdoor or any local job board you have, and you look for the engineering position you would be interested in. And then, Toby, you take a spreadsheet or you take a notebook and you write down maybe 20 terms that you found in that job description, your ideal job. And you write down the technologies and the keywords, and you do it for maybe 3 different detailed job descriptions, and you have a bank of 50 terms or 60 terms. That's the first step. Step number 2 is to head back to your profile and try to find those terms. And the most important thing to understand is that when someone runs a search on LinkedIn, LinkedIn is able to index every word from our headline and introduction and featured and experience and education and even the skills. So if the engineering term is somewhere on your profile, LinkedIn will be able to show it to other people. So say you have 50 terms, if you're using Chrome, you use Control F and you look for the terms, and you would probably find a lot of terms, but if you had a list of 50 terms, there must be at least 3 or 5 terms that are not present in your profile.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, okay, out of those terms, which term is the most important for the job I'm looking for? Maybe it's something about electrical engineering, maybe it's something about IT, maybe it's some other term. And you simply ask yourself, where should I put? Where's the most logical place to use that term somewhere on my profile? It could be in the description of your current position. It could be in the description of a previous position. And let's even imagine a case where you cannot really say that you worked using that technology, but perhaps you studied it. So you head to the education section and you add a sentence saying the syllabus of my master's degree included A, B, and C. And when you run a search, I will find you because the term would be there. And billions of searches are performed annually on the LinkedIn platform. You may want to help people find you.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Wow, thanks so much for that tip. Keywords, they are very important. Spread them across the profile and make it search friendly, basically. Yeah. But that means our LinkedIn profile is basically like our CV, right? Or how would you describe that? Like, in LinkedIn, you have your education and you have your history about it. You have your career and your history about it. When we compare our CV to that, they most likely the same way with the profile picture there and your qualifications and all of that there. Would you say they are the same?
I would say this. Imagine job seekers listening to Mirror Talk. If they sent their resume or their CV to a hiring company, what action would you like them to perform? If I'm the hiring manager and I got an engineer CV, what action would that engineer want me to perform? If I read their application or their CV, what would you like? What would they like?
The
me
engineer
to do?
would like you to reach out to him to ask him for an interview.
Excellent. If I'm the same person, the same hiring manager, and I bumped into the engineer's LinkedIn profile, what action would you like them? Would they like me to perform?
Yes.
Okay, same thing. Basically, reach out. So if you want me to reach out, do try to provide the same information you provided on your CV. That means that if you have 5 bullets describing the current position and your LinkedIn profile only has 5 words, then there's a discrepancy, there's a mismatch here. And the best thing to do would be to think hard about the way you'd like to show your experience. And once you've decided how you'd like to write your CV, you duplicate everything into LinkedIn. No gap, no change. Because if I visit your profile after receiving your CV and I see that you moved to one company and you changed the dates, instead of September 2017, it says 2018, then I might ask myself question about you. And usually it's simply a mistake. So reread your profile and make sure it's consistent with your CV, because almost anyone who would receive your CV and would start a process of hiring you would visit your LinkedIn profile.
That's true.
And you want to make them see that it's the same person. If you decided to call that position X, call it the same way on LinkedIn. And if you decided that you worked for 2 different positions, you started as a practicant in one position and then you were a work student, then try to do the same thing on LinkedIn, just like CV. You did in your CV.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh, great. Well, using my own profile as an example, I have a company page and I also have my personal profile. Daniel, how would you advise me? Should I focus on my company page for Mirror Talk solely and alone for podcast posts, and then for my personal profile, just for personal engineering, activities and all of that? Or is it possible for me to cross match them and show the world that yes, I'm an engineer, but also a podcaster, and yeah, I would love you to see what I'm speaking about on my podcast, and at the same time, once in a while, share posts from maybe my company, engineering activities too.
Okay, I think what you said last is probably best. So you're an engineer expert, but you do have other interests that don't contradict your engineering
Yeah.
capabilities. And what you could do is craft your profile in a way that highlights the engineering aspect of it, the education, and the companies you're working for. But that doesn't mean that you can't share content from Mirror Talk. The profile itself will show the engineering positions you held, and basically you would say, I'm an engineer and I love podcasts, or I'm an engineer and I love hosting people on my Mirror Talk podcast. You can, if the story is simple to understand, then if I'm looking for an engineer, I'll find that, and if I discover Mirror Talk, I will discover that you're also an engineer. But it wouldn't hurt you either way.
Yeah. Ah, okay, that's good. Because I always had this fear that, maybe a job hunter, oh, no, sorry, like a head hunter visits my profile and just sees Mirror Talk, Mirror Talk, Mirror Talk, like 20 posts, and it's like, okay, this boy is not serious about his engineering. Let me just move to the next profile then.
Okay. In order for them to see that what you shared, they have basically either to be connections of yours or followers of yours. And the second thing you could say is that if you don't want to create that sort of questions, instead of sharing it to your feed, you could visit LinkedIn groups that are focusing on career or transformation or a meaningful life, and there you would share the Mirror Talk episodes. So your profile would basically be 90% engineering, and what you share in those groups would be 90% Mirror Talk. That means that no headhunter will see the content that you share. Everyone will see on your profile engineering, but you will gain listeners thanks to the shares you did simply in LinkedIn communities.
That's good.
So that could be one way
that's smart.
to look at it.
I will look into that actually. but then if we switch to the company page, or for people out there who want to create a company page for their business, how would you also have a book on this, which the information will be in the show notes of this episode. Anyone who's interested in upscaling or upgrading their LinkedIn profile should please get the book. I'll place the link in the show notes of this episode. Can you tell us how we could build up a LinkedIn profile for business success, just like your book says? So.
Whoa. I was listening to an episode you released. You're in conversation with Bob Doyle, and you said, one of you said, I decided to become someone that I wasn't. So the first question I would ask is where you're headed. What is the next move for you? It could be becoming maybe an engineering manager as an employee, or as a podcaster, it could be grow your podcast and do other things. So start with the end in mind. Start with your objective. And then the metrics I would focus on are not the LinkedIn metrics, but the real life metrics. If you're looking for a job, then the metrics should not be the number of connections you have. It should be the number of interviews you've landed thanks to LinkedIn. And if you're interested in growing your podcast, then the metrics is not the number of followers. It's the number of downloads or engagement you have with your content and with the Mirror Talk episodes. Forget the LinkedIn metrics. They're really a tool. Try to consider LinkedIn as a black box that needs to feed your top priority. If a top priority is switching jobs, then LinkedIn should work in a way that would help you gain more meaningful interviews at companies you'd like to work for and to shorten your job search. If you'd like to grow your podcast, then the metrics should not be the number of followers or connections. It should be people subscribe to your show, people who download the episode. And the last point about this, you could say that your ideal reader on LinkedIn as a podcast host is not necessarily the listener. It could be something else. Perhaps you could identify other podcast hosts. It would take 5 minutes to run a search, and you'll, just like we talk now, you'll find 5 interesting podcasts. And then you would use LinkedIn to be introduced to those hosts and be a guest on their show. And there they would introduce you, and they will speak about the transformation you've had and the Mirror Talk idea. And that is likely to bring you new subscribers and new listeners. So you don't have necessarily to target the individual listener. You could use LinkedIn to find people who could help amplify your message.
Yeah, and that's good. Yeah, I mean, we have to know what our goal is basically with whatever we are doing, and that applies to our LinkedIn page or profile also. Yeah, thanks for that.
If you have no idea of where we're headed, then LinkedIn cannot help us
that's true.
today.
Well, one of my goals is to make, for example, the Mirror Talk podcast page much more customer friendly or listener friendly or reader friendly. Can you teach me like some things to do to make people get to the page and find everything they want, or just feel at home basically on our page?
Okay, so perhaps what we could do is show a way to highlight the Mirror Talk podcast website on your profile. Would that be a good idea?
Yeah.
Cool. So what I'll do is this. The first thing to do is to go to your LinkedIn profile and to open the link you want to show. Okay, so go to your LinkedIn profile, and there what I would do, I'll have to do it with my own. I'm sorry. You click on Add Profile section, and there you select the one saying recommended. Again, first tab, you click on Add Profile section. Then you go to recommended, and then featured.
Add featured.
3 clicks. Yes. And now you click on the plus sign to the right, and you select Add a link. And now I would paste a link to the mirrortalkpodcast.com. I click on Add, I wait a couple of seconds, and LinkedIn tries to render an image. And here's the image. It's a good image, but if you're unhappy with it and you want to change it, you can basically tweak it and have maybe the name of the podcast here. And you could also say here, Mirror Talk Podcast, where I speak with A, B, and C. And you basically hit save. That is something, Toby, you can do that in less than a minute. Again, you go to your LinkedIn profile, you click on Add Profile section, recommended, featured, plus link, and I'm going to visit your profile tomorrow morning, and I'd like to see the link to
Yes, that will work. That's a good take-home assignment from this episode. Thank you so much for that. I'll do that immediately after we finish this, actually. Thank you for that. And I believe this is also useful for every listener out there. Anyone who has a business that he or she's running, or has a website, the person can also do the same thing. Add it to the profile section under featured or recommended and featured. Then they add the link to it. Yeah, that'll be awesome. Yeah. So one more question. Okay, now I've added my profile to the profile section, and I believe that people will visit is be customer friendly, but I want to always make leads also. I want to convert people that visit the profile to listeners, or to subscribers, to people that even share the podcast to other people out there. So how can I generate this lead through my LinkedIn profile? How can I make my profile a lead magnet?
Excellent. So adding the links, the right links to a profile is probably one of the easiest things to do. If people discover Mirror Talk on their favorite platform podcast, some of them will turn into visitors. And if you share the episodes themselves, and perhaps we can mention something about the episodes. When you release the episode, what you could do is usually tag the guest. Tagging the guest would enable them to instantly like, repost, share, or comment on that. That is likely to be to show it to even more people. And the guest is usually interested in promoting the episode and showing the world that she had a talk with you. And instead of saying, hey, this is episode 171, which is basically from your perspective, you could try and pick a question or an insight or a quote from the episode itself and write maybe 3 or 4 lines about it without providing the answer. So how could I turn my LinkedIn profile into a lead magnet? Join our talk with XYZ. Because people would be more attracted to discover the episode itself if you don't provide the answer as a text. And if you don't say, this is episode 25, go and check my episode. The content that works best on LinkedIn is educational content, and Mirror Talk is an excellent example. You help people run their lives and run their careers in a meaningful way and build long-term relationships and find meaning in a soulful life. So this type of content is educational. It works extremely well.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've learned a lot from you already, Daniel. Like a lot of strategies I'm going to go back to implement basically immediately after this call. And I believe, thank you. I believe I'm going to get a lot of leads, and listeners out there too, we're going to get a lot of lead. I would love you to talk briefly about your book, where we could find it, and also if people have questions to ask you. I know we didn't cover everything in this conversation. If people want to connect with you, work with you, what's the best way to get your book and then also get across to you?
Thank you very, very much. What I could do is I'll suggest two or three things. The best place to go is danielalfon.com. That has a lot of articles and content and the ability to book a call or to go to the store and find the product that would suit you. What I could also share with you for the show notes is a giveaway. You mentioned the importance of the headline. So I put up a nice, simple cheat sheet that enables you to create a LinkedIn profile headline that sells. And that will enable anyone to revisit their LinkedIn profile headline and to make it more appealing to their ideal reader. I think danielalfon.com is probably the single most comprehensive site where you can contact me and see what I'm up to, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Yes, that's good. I'm going to place this link in the show note of this episode to encourage everyone out there to just click on the link, copy the link, and get across to Daniel Alfon and get a book a section, whatever you need to do in order to become successful basically in your business through improving or building your LinkedIn profile. Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate this conversation. I learned a lot of practical things that I'm going to make use of immediately after this conversation also. I appreciate it. Thank you.